Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a fascinating stack of information and pull up the truly insightful nuggets you need to know quickly and thoroughly.
Mm.
Today, we're plunging into the fall 2024 issue of People of Africa magazine. This edition, it does so much more than just celebrate achievements. It really uses an African lens to examine some, well, crucial global conversations.
Yeah, and what immediately grabs you is the editorial's powerful challenge to what it calls the moral compass of the West. It really sets the stage for a thought-provoking exploration of Africa's position in the world.
And it's about amplifying African perspectives, right?
Exactly. Vital amplification.
Absolutely. And the sheer range of topics they tackle is, well, it's impressive. We're going to dig into everything from a critical look at how Western influence plays out in African development to the ongoing issue of stereotypes and, the diverse experiences within the African diaspora.
And we'll also be highlighting the remarkable successes of African athletes at the Paris Olympics, which was fantastic.
Oh, definitely.
Plus, examining the often debated role of the IMF on the continent and celebrating the inspiring impact of African women leaders.
Plus, we're going to explore the surprising way maize flour acts as this kind of unifying ingredient across African cuisines. That sounds fascinating.
It really does. And the compelling Hollywood story of Benjamin Onyango, the rich beauty and significance of Kenya.
And the global reach of African music through the artistry of Yes and Eldro.
Right. And we can't overlook the interesting comparisons drawn between the triumphs of AFCON.
Which was amazing this year.
Totally.
Yeah.
And some of the organizational challenges seen in Euro 2024 and Copa America. Plus, a look at Mauritania's very different cultural approach to divorce.
Oh, okay.
And the unforgettable Olympic spirit embodied by athletes like Eric Musambani and John Stephen Akwari.
Yes, those stories.
Mm.
We'll also be looking at the controversy surrounding athletes like Caster Semenya and Amana Khalif and the fascinating intersection of fashion and identity through the work of Jordan Shadu Kopana Mokashane.
Phew, that's quite a list.
It is. So our goal today is to equip you with a solid understanding of these important facets of the African experience and how it connects with the wider world. Okay, let's dive in, starting with that really provocative editorial question. Has the West lost its moral compass?
Yeah, the editorial doesn't hold back at all. It points to what it perceives as a decline in meaningful political discourse and proper conduct in American politics.
Citing specific things, right?
Exactly. Like a late-night House Oversight Committee hearing is one example.
Yeah.
And the Biden-Trump debate is also characterized as, more spectacle than substance.
It even includes that sharp quote from Julius Nyerere.
Oh, the one about the U.S.?
Yeah. The United States is also a one-party state, but with typical American extravagance, they have two of them.
That really frames the critical perspective they're taking, doesn't it?
It certainly does. And what's particularly insightful is the editorial's observation of a certain irony. It notes that while the U.S. deals with, significant gun violence issues,
and the U.K. faces rising knife crime and instances of systemic discrimination like police brutality, the Windrush scandal, these same nations often present themselves as the arbiters of global morality.
it really makes you pause and think, doesn't it? The editorial strongly suggests that Africa needs to carefully consider what lessons it can actually draw from these Western models.
Especially given their own internal struggles.
Right.
Precisely. The editorial argues that Africa's diverse cultural landscapes and unique challenges likely demand solutions that are developed within Africa itself, rather than just, adopting approaches from what it terms troubled Western systems.
And the IMF dependence comes up here.
Yes, the reliance on IMF loans that come with conditions, austerity measures usually.
So spending cuts, privatization,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Exactly. And the impact of these in countries like Egypt and Ghana is presented as a key illustration of the need for, greater self-determination in economic policy.
But it's not all negative. It points to African initiatives, too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. The editorial also points to positive developments within Africa, such as regional collaborations like the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA.
They're huge, too.
Massive. And the African Development Bank, the AFDB, as steps towards greater economic autonomy and intra-African cooperation.
Okay. And just to be clear, we're presenting these viewpoints from the magazine, not taking sides ourselves.
Absolutely crucial to state. Our role here is to impartially convey those ideas found within the source material. This deep dive is about reflecting those perspectives.
Got it. So, shifting focus now, the issue also delves into the ongoing issue of how stereotypes about Africa are perpetuated today. This is a really important area to unpack.
It is indeed. There's a compelling article by an African graduate of an HBCU, a historically black college or university,
Right.
who discusses the troubling stereotypes about Africa that are sometimes perpetuated by Black Americans themselves. It's a really thought-provoking and, at times, uncomfortable read.
Underscores the complexities, doesn't it, of identity and perception.
It really does. And what's vital to understand, as the article emphasizes, is the historical context behind these stereotypes. It brings up figures like Aunt Jemima and Uncle Tom, explaining their origins in minstrel shows and literary works like Uncle Tom's Cabin. These harmful images, they played a significant role in dehumanizing Black people and justifying, systems of oppression.
And the article connects this history right to the present with some really disheartening examples.
Yeah, it mentions Gilbert Arenas' xenophobic comments about the facilities for the South Sudan basketball team.
I remember that. And Paul Pierce's comments, too.
Yes, his dismissive prediction about their performance. It's quite jarring.
And then there's Tiffany Haddish's Instagram post about grocery stores in Zimbabwe.
Which the article rightly calls condescending. These instances just highlight how deeply ingrained some of these negative perceptions can be, sadly, even within the African diaspora itself.
It's shocking to think that Africans still face these demeaning questions about, like, basic necessities, toilets, houses.
It is, and the article powerfully underscores the immense diversity of Africa. We're talking 55 distinct countries, each with its own rich history, from the ancient libraries of Timbuktu to the thriving tech hubs of Lagos and Nairobi today.
So where do these flawed perceptions come from?
Well, the article contends it's deeply rooted in the legacy of colonialism, ongoing systemic racism, and the often negative and, frankly, simplistic portrayals of Africa in Western media.
And the main message.
The critical need for the African diaspora to foster mutual respect and upliftment, recognizing their shared heritage and diverse experiences. That's key.
Okay, now let's move to a section that is, thankfully, purely celebratory.
Yes, where the magazine dedicates significant attention to the pride, passion, and remarkable excellence of African athletes at the Paris Olympics.
This part is truly inspiring and captures the incredible dedication and just outstanding performances across so many different sports.
It really does. We're talking about South Africa's field hockey team achieving a significant victory over France.
Huge upset.
Totally. And the South Sudan national basketball team's amazing journey, including their historic win against Puerto Rico and a very close game against Team USA.
Incredible story. And the Nigerian women's basketball team.
Their spirited performances are rightly highlighted, along with the skillful displays in soccer from both Morocco and Egypt, and South Africa's strong presence and impact in rugby sevens.
And it's not just in the big mainstream sports, right?
Yeah.
The magazine celebrates achievements elsewhere, too.
Absolutely. The Egyptian artistic swimming team receives well-deserved recognition for their captivating Eye on Africa routine, finishing in a commendable 10th place.
Nice.
And then a truly historic moment.
Yeah.
Kalia Numor of Algeria winning the gold medal in the uneven bars.
Wow. The first ever.
The very first Algerian and African gymnast to achieve an Olympic gold. This signifies a major breakthrough for gymnastics in Africa, potentially inspiring countless young athletes.
That's incredible. Just groundbreaking.
It really was. And the magazine also celebrates Tatjana Smith of South Africa, who earned gold and silver medals in breaststroke in what were her final Olympic Games.
Ah, a great send-off for her.
Definitely. And Sophia Latif of Tanzania, whose determination was truly inspiring. The successes in fencing are also noted, with Mahmoud El Sayed of Egypt taking home a bronze medal in Ipi, and Fairs for Johnny of Tunisia winning a silver medal in sabre.
So many uplifting stories. Nada Hafez of Egypt competing in fencing while pregnant.
Amazing.
Fatimata Diallo representing Guinea as their first ever Olympic archer, and David Depina from Cape Verde winning their nation's first ever Olympic medal in boxing. Just fantastic.
It really is, but what's particularly exciting to see highlighted is Africa's growing prominence in sprinting events.
Oh yeah, this was big news. Letsile Tebogo of Botswana.
His gold medal and his record-breaking time in the 100 meters, huge story.
Absolutely.
And the magazine also mentions other impressive sprinters, Tapuanasha Makarawu and Makanai Sharamba from Zimbabwe, Joseph Fonbule representing Liberia, Akani Simbine of South Africa.
Didn't he have a quote about that?
Yes, his quote about his aim to revolutionize sprinting in South Africa is included. And the incredible Marie-José Talu from Côte d'Ivoire and Kenya's Ferdinand Omanyala.
It's fantastic to witness this shift, this emergence. Of course, the enduring legacy of Abebe Bikila in marathon running is remembered.
Can't forget Bikila. Africa's continued strength and tradition in long-distance events is still there.
For sure. But the magazine also rightly emphasizes the importance of recognizing athletes who truly embody the Olympic spirit,
Yes,
even beyond medal counts, right?
exactly. This is where the remarkable stories of Eric Msembani,
Eric the Eel,
famously known as Eric the Eel, and John Stephen Akwari come into focus. Eric for his improbable but determined completion of his swim at the Sydney Olympics,
iconic moment.
and Akwari for his extraordinary determination in finishing the 1968 marathon in Mexico City despite suffering a significant injury. His powerful quote,
My country didn't send me.
"0.5 thousand miles to start the race, my country sent me to finish." It just perfectly captures that unwavering Olympic spirit.
Goosebumps. Those are the stories that truly resonate and stay with you, aren't they?
They really are.
Okay, now let's turn to a more complex and often debated topic. The role and impact of international monetary aid, specifically focusing on the IMF. The magazine offers a critical perspective here.
It does. It begins by outlining the establishment of the IMF and the World Bank at Bretton Woods, after World War II.
Right.
It then lists several African nations that currently have significant loan agreements with the IMF, including Egypt, Angola, Kenya, Ghana, and Ivory Coast, noting that Egypt holds the position of the largest debtor in Africa.
And the article doesn't shy away from the criticisms often directed at the IMF, does it?
Not at all. It discusses the significant influence of developed nations within the organization, particularly the U.S. with its substantial voting power, and the often contentious issues surrounding conditional loans and the implementation of those austerity measures we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So the potential downsides. Exactly. The points raised include concerns about the potential for increased debt dependency, the push for economic liberalization, which can sometimes lead to job losses and greater inequality,
Right.
the lack of local input and ownership in designing and implementing programs, and the overall influence of a neoliberal economic agenda.
And it gives historical examples.
Yes, it provides some valuable historical context by offering case studies of the IMF's impact. It touches on Ghana's debt crisis in the 1980s, Kenya's structural adjustment programs in the 1990s.
Typical times.
Very. Zimbabwe's hyperinflation in the 2000s, and the ongoing economic challenges faced by Egypt post-Arab Spring.
So these examples illustrate the potential drawbacks of relying too heavily on the IMF.
Pretty much. Things like a perceived loss of sovereignty over economic policy, negative social consequences from cuts to public services, hindering long-term sustainable growth, maybe worsening existing inequalities, and a decline in public trust.
But it's not presented as completely one-sided, though. It mentions alternatives.
That's true. The magazine also briefly mentions some of the alternative financing options that African countries are increasingly exploring. Things like the African Development Bank, the potential of the AfCFTA to stimulate internal investment, and the growing importance of South-South cooperation.
So it encourages a rethink, basically.
Yeah, this section really encourages a critical reassessment of Africa's relationship with international financial institutions and a stronger push towards greater economic self-reliance and innovative funding models.
Okay. Now let's shift gears again to celebrate some truly inspiring Daughters of Africa highlighted in this issue.
This is a wonderful segment, shining a light on the remarkable achievements of incredible African women.
Like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala.
Exactly. From Nigeria, a truly historic figure as the first African woman to lead the World Trade Organization.
Yeah.
I mean, a monumental achievement on the global stage.
Absolutely huge.
Then we have Samira Musa, the pioneering Egyptian nuclear physicist. Her groundbreaking vision for making nuclear treatment as accessible and straightforward as, aspirin was truly revolutionary. The magazine rightly honors her enduring legacy as a trailblazer for women in STEM. She famously said she aimed to make nuclear treatment as cheap as aspirin.
Incredible vision. And Miriam Makeba.
And of course, we can't forget the legendary Miriam Makeba, Mama Africa, from South Africa, the iconic singer and powerful activist. Her poignant quote about rising every time we fall perfectly encapsulates her incredible resilience and her lasting impact. These are truly powerful stories of women who broke barriers and paved the way.
Absolutely. Now, for a change of pace, but an equally fascinating topic, the magazine explores the surprising and significant unifying role that maize flour plays in African cuisine.
It's remarkable, isn't it, how a single staple ingredient can be so deeply interwoven into the cultural fabric of an entire continent.
It truly is. The article emphasizes that maize, or corn, is far more than just basic food. It's deeply embedded in culinary traditions and cultural practices across Africa, connecting communities from north to south, east to west.
And its adaptability is key, right?
Exactly. Its remarkable adaptability to a wide range of climates and soil types is a key factor, making it accessible and crucially important for food security across the continent.
Plus, it's productive and easy to store, which helps.
Definitely. The magazine highlights its high productivity and ease of storage as significant advantages.
And it traces the history, how it got there.
Yeah, it's interesting. Introduced by Portuguese traders in the 16th century, then rapidly spread across the continent, and governments from the 1950s onwards actively promoted its cultivation.
Right, recognizing its potential to combat food insecurity. And of course, the iconic dishes.
Oh yeah, East Africa's ugali in Kenya,
And Southern Africa's nishima or sadza in countries like Malawi, Zimbabwe, central to daily meals and cultural identity.
and maize porridge generally.
A fundamental symbol of sustenance, comfort, and cherished tradition, the article points out.
What's particularly lovely is how the article connects this humble ingredient to a broader sense of shared identity and unity across Africa, despite all the cultural diversity.
It's a shared culinary experience, a taste that resonates deeply. There's even a charming anecdote about polenta.
Italian polenta.
Yeah, being essentially the culinary cousin of Tanzanian ugali. It just illustrates the commonality of maize-based dishes across cultures.
That's cool. And the magazine includes recipes, too.
It does in its kitchen section. Though not all are maize-based, they showcase a wider range of culinary inspirations. Things like polenta with shrimp and cherry tomatoes,
Yeah.
crispy polenta fries, flavorful baked zucchini with red pepper flakes, and comforting garlic butter smashed potatoes.
Sounds good.
Mm.
A nice way to see the versatility of basic ingredients. Okay, let's move on to a truly inspiring personal narrative, the Hollywood journey of Benjamin Onyango.
Onyango's story, as powerfully presented in the magazine, is a real testament to perseverance and talent. From his beginnings in East Africa to his success as an actor in Hollywood, it's been quite a trajectory.
And the article talks about the challenges for African actors.
It does. It sheds light on the considerable obstacles faced, often encountering more hurdles compared to their white and even African-American counterparts.
He shares a powerful quote too, doesn't he?
Yes. If you don't push, the door will never open. Really encapsulates his determination.
Mhm.
The magazine also points out a positive trend in Hollywood towards more authentic casting of African actors in African roles, which is certainly welcome.
And he's committed to helping others.
Very much so. His deep commitment to creating more opportunities for other African creatives in Hollywood is a significant part of his narrative. The article details his early life in Nairobi, his education, initial career steps.
And he was in a band.
Yeah, fascinating detail. Involved in a funk rock band before fully dedicating himself to acting. His breakthrough roles in films like Tears of the Sun.
Where he worked with Bruce Willis.
Right, and he shares an insightful quote about learning from Willis. Also, God's Not Dead and Beautifully Broken, highlighting his versatility.
And voice acting too.
Impressive voice acting work in numerous high-profile films, demonstrating his range. The magazine also notes his writing credits and his strong commitment to bringing authentic African stories to the screen.
Quoting him again.
Yes. Africa has so many stories to be told, and Africans need to tell their own stories. Very clear conviction there.
He also makes a point about East African representation on streaming platforms.
He does. A really important observation about the comparatively limited representation of East African filmmakers on platforms like Netflix compared to West, South, and North Africa.
And Western perceptions of East Africa.
He reflects on how they're often quite narrow, often limited to Maasai people and wildlife, and expresses optimism about the region's untapped potential as a filming location.
Interesting. And he reflects on the Berlin Conference too.
Yes, his thoughtful reflection on the lasting impact of the Berlin Conference on Africa's diverse cultures adds another significant layer. Ultimately, his story is one of enduring optimism and dedication to nurturing emerging African talent.
And when asked what Africa means to him,
His simple yet profound answer, everything indeed, speaks volumes, doesn't it?
it really does. What an incredibly inspiring journey. Now let's turn our attention to a specific nation, Kenya. The magazine includes a captivating Eye on Kenya feature.
Ah, yes. This section beautifully portrays Kenya as a truly remarkable and diverse nation in East Africa. It vividly describes its stunningly varied landscapes.
Coast, mountains, savanna,
Exactly. Indian Ocean coast, majestic mountains, plateaus, savannas, and the dramatic Great Rift Valley, including Lake Turkana, the Jade Sea.
and the languages.
Rich linguistic diversity is highlighted. Swahili and English are official, alongside an impressive 62 other languages spoken, a vibrant linguistic tapestry.
And Nairobi is unique.
Totally unique. Capital city, the only one in the world with a national park within its city limits. A vital rhinoceros sanctuary, no less. Extraordinary.
That really underscores Kenya's commitment to wildlife preservation, doesn't it? Like the hunting ban in 1977.
Absolutely. A commitment with lasting positive impact. The article also mentions the iconic Great Wildebeest Migration and the impressive elephant herds in Amboseli.
And its historical significance.
Beyond the natural wonders, Kenya's profound historical significance as the cradle of humanity, thanks to the crucial paleontological discoveries in the Turkana Basin, is rightly emphasized.
Plus, borders, coffee, football.
Right, sharing borders with 5 countries, being a leader in coffee production, and the immense popularity of football with the Harambee Stars, it showcases the multifaceted importance and vibrancy of Kenya.
Clearly a country holding immense natural beauty and cultural pride. Okay, let's circle back to celebrating individual excellence with the story of Algerian musician Yassin Al-Jura.
Algera's journey, as portrayed in the magazine, really embodies African resilience and artistic innovation. His performance in Washington, D.C. on Algeria's Independence Day is a powerful example of sharing his heritage.
And his path to music wasn't direct. Started with painting.
Exactly. Fascinating to trace his early connection to arts, starting with painting, then discovering his passion for music in school, joining a local band at 17, performing across Algeria. That laid the foundation.
Then moving to the capital.
Right, at 20, expanding into songwriting and production, joining a prominent band, touring North Africa, broadening his horizons. Then came the pivotal move, invited to tour the U.S. in 2005.
His U.S. debut.
In Detroit, opening for the renowned Saber El-Robai, then relocating to the vibrant scene of New York City, marking a significant new chapter. And it's inspiring that he's largely self-taught.
Mastered multiple instruments.
Percussion, keyboard, guitar, all while absorbing diverse international musical styles. It's really impressive.
And his goal now, connecting African sounds.
Yes, his core artistic goal is connecting the diverse sounds of Africa through melody, collaborating with Afrobeat musicians, blending traditional reggae music with contemporary Afrobeat rhythms. It's exciting stuff.
He has a great quote about that, doesn't he?
He does. Algeria's traditional music can connect its soul to any music possible. Beautifully captures his vision and belief in music's universal language.
And if people want to hear his music.
His website is www.yassinalgero.com. It's fantastic. The magazine highlights artists like him, sharing African culture globally.
Agreed. Now let's move to a section offering a contrasting perspective, examining organizational imperfections in Euro 2024 and Copa America, especially when contrasted with AFCON's success.
Yeah, this is a really compelling comparison. It acknowledges the historical marginalization African soccer has often faced, the condescending stereotypes, even referencing Jurgen Klopp's little tournament remark.
Ouch.
Yeah. The article strongly asserts that African football showcased remarkable brilliance in 2024 and then details some organizational challenges in Copa America 2024, particularly with the U.S. hosting.
Issues like
Chaotic scenes at matches, crowd control difficulties, reported security breaches at Hard Rock Stadium, even heat-related medical issues for fans. The article suggests these raise questions about readiness for the 2026 World Cup.
and issues with Euro 2024 too.
Yes, it highlights controversies around UEFA's refereeing appointments, specifically mentioning Felix Weir's past match-fixing involvement and criticism from Jude Bellingham.
And UEFA stood by him.
Yes, that's noted. Additionally, significant problems with the quality of playing pitches at several Euro 2024 venues, Frankfurt, Dusseldorf, Hamburg.
And then the contrast with AFCON 2024.
A stark contrast. The magazine enthusiastically hails it as the greatest edition of the 21st century, dubbing it the AFCON of shocks.
Because of all the upsets.
Exactly. Unexpected results, stunning goals. It highlights underdog performances like Equatorial Guinea and Cape Verde topping groups, and the unceremonious exits of heavyweights, Ghana, Algeria, Tunisia, even defending champs Egypt and Senegal, Morocco.
Wow, and the host nation winning.
Right. The captivating underdog storyline of Ivory Coast ultimately winning made it truly memorable, plus dramatic stoppage time finishes.
So the overall assessment of AFCON.
High level of competition, vibrant cultural celebrations, undeniable overall success. It argues this directly challenges long-standing Western media stereotypes about African sports.
And it mentions the star players.
Acknowledges the global recognition of players like Koulibaly, Salah, Osimhen, and makes a strong call for greater respect, recognition, and representation for African football globally.
Including more World Cup spots.
Yes, advocating for more FIFA World Cup spots for African nations. The conclusion is clear. The era of undervaluing African football must end. A powerful statement.
It truly is. Now, for a topic offering a unique cultural lens, Mauritania's distinct approach to divorce, framed as the art of letting go.
This is fascinating, an exploration of a cultural perspective very different from many Western views. It highlights Mauritania's surprisingly high divorce rate, nearly a third of marriages,
Wow.
and the even more surprising tradition of openly, even joyfully celebrating divorce.
Divorce parties, like weddings.
Apparently so, with vibrant music, dancing, feasts, almost like a reverse wedding celebration. The stats shared, 60% involve separations of 5+ years, 74% of divorced women remarry, 25% marry 3+ times, suggests societal acceptance of second chances.
So it can be empowering for women there.
The magazine explores that angle, how it can offer freedom and happiness without the heavy social stigma found elsewhere. However, it also acknowledges concerns raised by civil society groups about the impact on family stability and children.
So it presents both sides.
Yes, presents the alternative view of parties as celebrating new beginnings, but notes the concerns. It summarizes Mauritania's perspective as seeing letting go as courageous, not failure.
And it offers practical tips, too.
It does. More universally applicable, 5 tips for deciding to take the high road to divorce. Self-reflection, professional guidance considering children, financial planning, open communication, and steps to make it work post-divorce.
Like communication boundaries.
Exactly. Co-parenting focus, seeking help if needed, staying positive. The inclusion of African proverbs adds another cultural layer, reflecting divorce as both potentially destructive and possibly a necessary change.
Really thought-provoking. Okay, now let's turn to a section raising important questions about fairness, assumptions, identity, and athletics, focusing on Castor Semenya and Amani Killif, titled Accused, Shamed, but Unapologetic Pioneers.
Yes, this section powerfully questions what the magazine sees as a lack of vocal support from movements like Me Too and feminist groups for African female athletes facing, well, what it views as unfair scrutiny over natural biological traits.
Suggesting a double standard compared to Western athletes.
That's the implication highlighted. Castor Semenya's story is recounted her incredible achievements, gold medals,
Yeah.
then the controversial sex testing after her 2009 victory.
Revealing her DSD condition.
Yes, 5-reductase 2 deficiency resulting in naturally higher testosterone levels. The World Athletics regulations requiring testosterone suppression for DSD athletes in certain events are explained.
400-meter to 1500-meter.
Right. And Semenya's consistent refusal, arguing discrimination, her ongoing legal battles. The magazine notes her rejection of the intersex label, her self-identification as a different kind of woman.
It emphasizes the intersection of excellence, identity, prejudice.
Strongly. And her role as an inspiration. Then it draws a direct contrast between the treatment of Semenya and Algerian boxer Aminteh Khelif with the generally more accepting approach towards openly transgender athletes in the West.
And the Khalif controversy.
Discusses her disqualification at the World Championships over an unspecified gender test, and her Italian opponent, Angela Carini, withdrawing from a match. Carini later apologized.
And the lack of outcry.
The magazine points out the notable lack of widespread public outcry from Western feminist groups regarding Khalif's treatment, especially compared to support shown for her Italian opponent.
Highlighting that she had competed for years without issues.
Exactly. That fact is highlighted, as is the support she received from the IOC and Algerian officials. The conclusion is that their stories are powerful testaments to the strength, resilience, and pride of African athletes facing significant challenges.
Raises crucial points about potential biases and assumptions. Okay, finally, let's turn to fashion and the insights of Jordan Chidub Kapano Mokacheng.
Jordan, a rising figure from Johannesburg, South Africa, with a rich, multicultural background, Nigerian father, Mosotho mother, Lesotho influences, shares his journey.
From football to fashion.
Yes, aspiring pro footballer to successful model and founder of his own brand, Jean Warda. He shares his style philosophy. Dressing well leads to feeling good, gaining confidence.
Practical advice, too.
Offers advice on dressing for different occasions, night out versus formal gala, prioritizing individuality and comfort. He lists essentials for an African man.
Like I.
Bible, good cologne, watch, stylish sneakers, formal shoes, versatile outfits. He shares insights on accessorizing sunglasses and timepieces, telling a story, footwear as the finishing touch.
And he addresses the cost misconception.
Directly. challenges equating fashion with financial status, asserting it really isn't expensive to look expensive, offers a more accessible perspective.
He talks about a specific photo shoot.
Recounts his memorable Levi's photo shoot, emphasizing collaboration, creativity, dealing with nerves.
And influences on his style.
Explains how diverse cultures, beliefs, mood influence his choices, but he always incorporates something representing his African identity, his advice to young men.
Stay true to yourself.
Exactly. Simple yet profound. Stay true to yourself in developing your personal style. A great glimpse into fashion, identity, and expression.
Indeed. A fitting and vibrant way to conclude our exploration of this incredibly diverse and thought-provoking issue.
It really covered a lot of ground.
Well, there you have it. A deep dive into the fall 2024 issue of People of Africa magazine. We should now have a much deeper understanding of these important topics.
Yeah, from global political commentary and inspiring athletic achievements to rich cultural insights and compelling personal stories.
It's truly fascinating to consider the contrasting narratives that emerged, isn't it? The challenges and the triumphs, the critiques and the celebrations.
All contributing to a rich and multifaceted perspective on the African experience and its interaction with the wider world.
And leaves us with a final, maybe thought-provoking question for you. In a world that is increasingly saturated with information, how do we ensure that diverse perspectives, particularly those originating from the African continent, are not only heard,